Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for standing by, and welcome to the When eLearning Goes Mobile webinar. During the presentation, all participants will be in a listen-only mode. If you would like to ask a question during the presentation, please use the chat feature located in the lower left corner of your screen. If you need to reach an operator at any time, please press *0. As a reminder, this conference is being recorded Wednesday, January 26, 2011. I would now like to turn the conference over to Ms. Paula Malon. Please go ahead.
Thank you. And hi, everyone. My name is Paula Malon, and I would like to welcome you to today's webcast, When eLearning Goes Mobile. It's my pleasure to welcome our esteemed panel of experts from industry and academia. But before we proceed, I do have a few announcements to make. As already stated, this webcast is being recorded, and that's because a full presentation will be available on the SIIA Education Division website. And as we mentioned before, please submit any questions you have at any time via the chat feature, and we'll use them either during the presentation or in our separate Q&A section at the end. I also wanted to let you know that we have some in-person events coming up. The first is the EdTech Government Forum. It's a members-only event that offers opportunity for our members to meet with national education leaders and policymakers. And we also set up for those that are interested in-person meetings with your respective state representatives. The EdTech Industry Summit, which is happening in May, is an industry conference that takes place in San Francisco every year, and that is open to both members and non-members. I also wanted to make you aware of two publications you might find of interest. The Expert's Guide to the Post-Secondary Market, of which two of our presenters today are contributors, will be coming out in March. And there is a pre-publication sampler that's available now, and it's at that bit.ly link, SIIA Guide Sampler. Please feel free to download it. The publication itself will be free to members as a PDF download and for purchase for both members and non-members in print version. And there's another publication, the 2010 Mobile Education Tech Trends White Paper, that we thought this group would be interested in. It covers both K-12 and higher ed trends in mobile, and that is available through that bit.ly account, bit.ly Learning ROI. Also want to make a few hold the date. This webcast is actually the second in the series of 4. The first was Accessibility by Design, and that is archived, and that is accessible by that bit.ly account, SIIA Access by Design. And then the next 2 are scheduled, one for February and one for March, both at the 2 o'clock time. Also want to notice that today's webcast will probably go the full hour, so hopefully you can all join us for that. And with that, I would like to introduce our moderator for today, Robert Iskander. Robert is the founder and CEO of VIP Tone and serves on the SIIA Education Division Board. After spending 13 years at Sun Microsystems, including 5 years leading the global education market development and vision, Robert started VIP Tone in April 2000 with the goal of connecting all the dots for the K-20 education enterprise. VIP Tone's EduTone is the first e-integration platform that connects and provisions education enterprise end users with a multi-vendor ecosystem of IP-based communications, collaboration, learning, and administration applications through a global identity management utility. Through EduTone, Robert delivers on his vision of creating an affordable, lifelong, and ubiquitous one-to-one platform for both students and teachers. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Robert.
Thank you very much, Paula, and I'm sorry about the long introduction. Wow, I didn't realize it was that long. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon in some other time zones. It's a pleasure to have you all in our panel today, and we have a very exciting panel put together for you with speakers that span the whole spectrum of mobile learning. We have with us a technology company that will enable mobile education, mobile e-learning. We have with us a university and an education partner who has leveraged mobility in teaching, and we have with us a publisher. So those 3 types of audience participants with us today hopefully will help cover a lot of different aspects of mobile learning. as you all know, mobility is something that's happening. Everybody's talking about it. Billions of devices are out there today, affordable. So it's obviously a very timely topic to discuss about how do we migrate the online learning platforms that we're all used to mobile devices. And is it going to be the same type of delivery? Is it going to be something completely different? Is there some sort of a shift in the way we do online learning? All these questions are fair questions to ask, and we have a great panel to address today. Please do not hesitate to put in all your questions in the chat session on your online tool, and I will be taking all these questions and addressing them to our esteemed panelists today. Our first panelist today is Carla Berry. Allow me to introduce Carla. Carla is a Master's in Fine Arts from School of Art Institute of Chicago. She has taught in higher education for over 25 years and is currently the Dean of the School of Media and Communication at National University. She has served as the President of the University Film and Video Association, UFVA, and is a member of the Board of Directors of the International Digital Media and Arts Association, IDMA. She's also a recent corporate academic collaborative sponsored projects include the South Carolina Film Consortium, the AIDS PPSA Project, and the Global Rivers Project. Carla's experimental, documentary, and interactive media projects have been created for small personal screens such as mobile devices and smartphones, for conventional screens such as the broadcast or cinema, and also for large public screens in the U.S. and abroad. Without any further ado, I'll give you Carla Berry.
Well, thank you very much for that introduction. I guess I too had kind of a long bio there. But hello everyone, greetings from San Diego. I wanted to just first put this project into context. So I am here as an education partner in a mobile learning pilot project. And if you'll advance to the next slide, you'll see that there are three main partners involved in this project. And so first of all, National University, and if you are not aware of National University, we are the second largest private not-for-profit university in California. And as the Dean of the School of Media and Communication, I oversee programs that are taught entirely online. And we also have programs that are taught online with low residencies, an MFA in professional screenwriting, MFA in digital cinema that's taught in, with a residency in Los Angeles. But what I'm going to be talking about today is a pilot project we're doing with two communication courses that are general education courses, COM 100, Intro to Mass Media, and COM 103, Fundamentals of Speech. It's your basic speech communication course that just about every school in the country includes as some sort of general education requirement or elective. And so about a year ago, with my affiliate partner, Spectrum Pacific Learning here that's part of our National University system, we started looking at mobile learning for these general education courses. And it's important to note that the students here are online. They are primarily adult. The average student age is 36, although that keeps trending lower and lower each year as we get more undergraduate students. But they're primarily returning adults, and so they have families, they have jobs, and they're fitting our courses into their life. And so with Spectrum Pacific, we did a pilot project of our own and tested some mobile learning in a course about a year ago. And then I guess, gosh, I'm trying to remember, I guess it was only about 2 or 3 months ago that someone at Spectrum Pacific Learning and with my Faculty Technology Learning Center brought Mobile 21 to my attention. We did a conference call, I would say sometime maybe in October or November, and by just before the holidays, I was lucky enough to already have a demo version of an iPhone app learning for this class that Mobile 21 has produced for us. And so this partnership is really important, and you'll notice from my bio that I'm very project-oriented and very partnership-oriented, and I think that's really important for those of you who are thinking of embarking on this project. And so what we're doing right now is a pilot project where we're testing these mobile apps in these 2 online courses, and it's a partnership between my school, the faculty in my school, the faculty who teach these courses, Mobile 21, and Spectrum Pacific Learning. And I should add that the content from that you'll see, and Supra will have a screenshot of what these apps look like when he speaks. But the content is pulled from our online course, and it is intended to provide bursts of review material. So it's not a complete course online, but it is review material, and Supra can talk more about how they plan these apps. But one of the things that we really responded to in our first conversation was that Supra and his team at Mobile 21 were talking to us about pedagogy and technology. So they weren't just telling us about technology, they were really talking with us and helping us, as a group we were talking about the why and how of doing this. And so if you can advance to the next slide, I'll keep my remarks brief so that we can move this along. But I did want to say that if you haven't worked with academia before, we're a little bit different from maybe working with other corporate clients. And I'm interested to see that you have an upcoming session on working with higher ed, because we are a pretty different beast. And one of the things I would say to you, you need to find those change agents. And change agents and check signers. And I've talked to a lot of my colleagues. So my bio mentioned 2 groups, the UFEA and the IDMAA. And so that's how I stay involved with my colleagues out at other institutions. And I can tell you that I was on the faculty at 3 previous state institutions. And I always considered myself a change agent and always getting impatient, wanting to try new, innovative ways of teaching, especially teaching with technology. And so the change agents, you need to find someone on the faculty who will be willing to work with you. I mean, it's higher ed, and in higher ed, whether it's private or public, I can't really speak about the for-profit institutions, but certainly with the private and public not-for-profit institutions, you really need to find that change agent, that faculty member who's willing to put the time into this, who's willing to take this on and test this in those classes. And at the same time, it's important to have a check signer. So I'm in the unique position, it's one of the reasons why I was interested in this position in the first place, that as a dean I am a check signer. I'm with an institution that embraces change, that wants to look to the horizon to see what's coming. We have the Spectrum Pacific Learning. We work with eCollege. And so we had this ready-made partnership with the change agents, with the check signers, so that we're able to fund it through our university system. I'm able to get the faculty involved to work with me on this. And it's a way for me then to promote change and really test this. And I'll just end by saying that National University is also a model for assessment. And we've just come through our regional accreditation review. And one of the things that we discovered through this assessment is that when we moved a course, and this one course, it's COM 103, it's just fundamentals of speech. When we moved that course from an on-site course to an online course, we learned that the drop rate improved significantly. Students stayed in that class more when it was online than when it was on site. And one of the things we're going to be testing as we continue with the Mobile 21 and these mobile learning apps is to really test this more deeply and find out why students like it. We have some of our initial ideas about why this is, but I think that one of the things that we've learned so far is that technology-enabled instruction, while a lot of faculty out there resist it, we have learned that it is very effective. I'm sure that my other presenters can talk more specifically about that. But we're very pleased with what we've seen so far, and I welcome any more questions. You have my email. I welcome any further conversation about this, and especially to learn more about what others are doing with that. And so I will close my remarks, and I will introduce my partner on this project, who's going to talk to you about the challenges and opportunities, Supra Manohar. And I will mute now and turn the line over to Supra.
Thank you very much, Carla. This is Robert Iskander again. I'd like to introduce Supra myself. Supra Manohar is the Executive Vice President of eMantras. Supra is very active in emerging learning strategy and technologies, and over the past year, along with the eMantras organization, he has been evangelizing mobility and learning in addition to being actively involved in the development of Mobile 21 product, which I'm sure he will talk to you about today. So without any further ado, Supra.
Hey, thanks a lot, if you will, Paula and Robert. And let's go on to the next slide. I think people are probably sick of looking at my face, if you will. So, one of the articles that we're submitting is understanding what the challenges and opportunities of implementing learning on mobile devices. And one of the SIIA information that's going to be coming in, articles that are going to be coming in, is going to specifically address this. Now, if we can go to the next slide, guys, I'd like to kind of start deep diving in. Well, there are a couple of different things. We wanted to talk about mobile learning today. What are the structural issues that somebody has to face, and how do you actually kind of address it? The most important thing is the stakeholders, which is the learners, which is what we always have to remember, guys, are already there. I mean, I don't think you guys need to see any more statistics on mobility, mobile learning, and devices for me to kind of get that point across. And from the adoption standpoint, as a provider of solutions, what we've noticed, and again, this is not necessarily a scientific study, but we see two kinds of people. We have adopters, and we have people who are waiting for the perfect solution. And there's some challenges of waiting for the perfect solution, understanding the fact that schools and academia have certain challenges in trying to raise funding and being able to do things. I would like to address that as we move forward and get your opinions on some of this. Well, National is a perfect example of an adopter, because when a little bit to what Carla was talking about, if you guys notice, when we actually had our first meeting with Carla and her team, I believe it took us exactly 3 days to get a project launched because of two things. Number one, it was not just Carla being the person who was signing the check saying, let's go for it. It was us as a provider being able to facilitate and provide models so that a school could actually try to fail forward, implement and fail forward and see and experiment and not have to be saddled with big infrastructure costs. I think what you guys will see is because of the evolution of technology today, there's going to be those opportunities where there's a lot of opportunity to try it. I'm not saying Mobile 21 is the only one out there, but there are a lot of other companies that are out there that are kind of trying to make that happen. And, there's some interesting things. The student engagement with online and mobile is already there, and I believe Carla spoke a little bit about online and why and how they've actually kind of reduced the drop rate. The key thing here is students are already engaged. There are some interesting statistics. Again, this presentation doesn't allow me to go into it, but typically people spend about close to 7 hours a day trying to get information and on their cell phones, or trying to send information and participatory activities on their mobile phone. So it is kind of replacing what you would look at as a traditional computing device. Now, the most important thing on any mobile learning initiative is the opportunity is not to get content from point A to point B. It's not about saying we already have it online, now let me provide it on a phone. The opportunity is a lot more. The opportunity is to enhance learning and be able to provide the tools to help the student succeed better. What I mean by that is the first gut reaction when e-learning first came around was to take what we did in the classroom and provide it in an electronic format and see if that would fly. Well, it didn't fly because the way consumption happens, the way people actually access their content on the PCs and laptops was different from how they would read a textbook. And to make a very, very good point, I mean, ebooks had a tough time when they first got started. But if you guys notice over the past year and a half or so, there's been a resurgence primarily because of slate computing devices. That's a clear indication that the experience of the content is the most important, and the design and elemental structural change or structural design of what gets sent to somebody's device is very, very important. And there is a difference between information access and learning. You know, we get asked this question all the time, and they say, well, we've got schools that say we've already done something on mobile. Well, I always ask them, well, what did you guys do? Well, we provide calendar information. We provide access to teacher information. Well, that is information portability. That's not necessarily about learning. Learning is all about content structure. Learning is about helping the student do something better to achieve better. And so there are two different things. One is not more important than the other. The driving force depends on what your initiative has to be. In our opinion, learning is all about content and structure and helping the student do something better and participate a little better. Now, I'm sure you guys have all heard this line. I keep hearing it all the time when I call schools, and the first thing they say is, we're launching a mobile initiative. So, well, what are you guys trying to do? We're trying to deliver into iPad. Well, is the iPad a mobile device? I mean, who am I to say yes or no? I don't know, but I do question the fact and say slate computing devices are coming en masse, but are they replacing the cell phones or smartphones in your pocket, or are they potentially replacing your laptops and desktops? So be cognizant of the fact that slate computing devices can do a lot more than just basic mobility enhanced stuff. So when you are looking at those initiatives, the driving force has to be what is trying to be accomplished in this environment, rather than going out there and saying, oh, okay, let me just put something on the iPad. And also another driving factor, when you actually launch a mobile program on small form factor devices, the assumption is that the device is going to be carried by the student. Now, when you're talking about slate computing devices, it's going to be a little harder to justify that because of the costs that are going to be associated in actually mandating a student needs to carry a slate. We're a long ways away from a lot of students owning some form of a slate device. Again, learning objectives have to drive the initiative guide, and measuring outcomes. Be very careful here. Everybody wants metrics. Everybody wants to do stuff. What is your rubric of measurement of success? What are you trying to measure? You know, it's not just enough on a mobile device to be able to measure whether the student did better on a specific grade itself. It's also important to understand that you can measure other things. What kind of content are students actually downloading? What devices are they participating in? What times are they actually gaining the content? So there's a lot of valuable information that can be garnered from these mobile initiatives, and I think a lot of it is going to depend upon thinking through it smartly, implementing small, but having the ability to scale and be able to prove yourself as you move forward, if you will. If I can go to the next slide, guys. There are some operational and technical challenges which we do want to discuss. Browser access on cell phone devices is not mobility. Let's be very clear, guys. App technology is true mobility because it's available to you even even when you're not online, if you will. If the whole objective is to provide some information to somebody that's when they're online, that is noble intention, but be cognizant of the fact that does not provide for true mobility, because if they're offline, if they don't have access, then you really are in a challenging environment. And, enabling these devices and providing content to them gives you an opportunity to do a lot of different things to collaborate and engage students. And I'm already being warned that I'm exceeding my time limit, guys. But, you know, you can take advantage of SMS, IVR, note-taking, and other forms of social learning, if you will. It's also important to understand what kind of technology and resources do you have. You know, internal champions. I believe Carlos spoke a little bit about it. Do you have resources for content creation, or does it make more sense to have managed services? Do you have the technical resources to make your mobile learning initiative successful? Next slide, folks. And this is what we did at National University, or we're currently doing at National University. First one is we're structuring the content as mobile complements to the course programs, so the students have something additional in addition to their online programs or classroom training, if you will. And if we can go to the next slide, guys. And finally, we're not doing anything new. We're integrating the media, we're integrating the content that already exists, and leading into and providing tools for the students to help them learn and do things better, if you will, rather than just say, we're going to give you what you have available online. Now, the tools that we're putting in their hands enable them to utilize the full methodology and the full tool capabilities of the devices in their hands, if you will. Next slide, guys. So what is the conclusion here? Number one, there's a lot of opportunity out there to wait it out and sit on the sidelines, if you will. And if you notice, a lot of what we've done as a vendor is to make it easy for schools to get out there, make it easy for our partners, whether they're publishers, content owners, or school, whoever they may be, to be able to get products out there in multiple platforms. You know, the one thing that I wanted to mention to you guys is, that Carla didn't mention, is the device and the apps that we spoke to you guys. Currently, I only showed you screenshots of the iPhone, but the initiative at National is not going to be iPhone only. We're going to have the content portable, irrespective of what device the student walks in with, whether it's an iPhone, whether it's an Android device, or a BlackBerry and Windows 7. And if they don't have any form of device, they can still access the content, because our assumption is that the content is valuable and going to help the student do something. They can access the content on desktops or laptops. So what do SaaS models help you do? Low inertial costs, they're very scalable. There's a tremendous value to managed services because you don't need to have a lot of infrastructure, and you don't need to buy big system licenses to keep abreast of morphing technologies. And that's kind of the most important thing, guys. You know, for all the schools and all the people within the ecosystem that we talk to, the thing that challenges us the most is people who are waiting for the most ideal solution. Let me just put it to you guys this way. There never is going to be an ideal solution. It's always a moving target with new technologies. What you can do is find solutions that help you implement now and allow you to continue to scale and try to do things. And that said, I'm going to hand it off to Bill Zobrist. Bill, I'm sorry that I ate into a little bit of your time. And Robert, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Supra. Very, very enlightening, and definitely I think a lot of people now will have some questions for you at the end of the session. So without any further ado, I'd like to present our next panelist, and next panelist, Bill Zobrist from Pearson. Bill is the Director of Online and Emerging Product Strategy in the Pearson Learning Solutions, PLS group of Pearson. Bill envisions and builds new educational technology products and services. Presently, he is crafting mobile learning products, and he can be reached at bill.zobrist@pearson.com. I will be posting his email address and Twitter account number. So without any further ado, Bill.
Thanks, Robert. Thank you very much. You can move on to the next slide, and beyond the fact that I'm just emerging and online. I'm really here to, and this is no secret to my friends and colleagues at Pearson, but to just raise the rally and the word that the rate of which mobile devices are being adopted and used in the marketplace is just breathtaking. I mean, Morgan Stanley put out this great report. It's like 100 pages. I found it on the web. Fantastic research group they have on internet and technology. And they were about 2 years ago essentially estimating that there was going to be about a billion devices attached to the web 2010, last year, and $10 billion in 2012. That is an incredible number. So we all know, and Supra talked about, kind of how hot mobile is, but these numbers are just incredible. So part of what I want to say about this is that the rate of adoption of these devices isn't just about the device itself. It's going to change learning. It already is. Let's go to the next slide. So this is based on some writing that myself and my partner Todd Hitchcock did. We did an article for SIIA for their Expert's Guide to Post-Secondary Market. There's an article called Learning on the Run, which we'd be happy to make sure that you guys see. And a lot of the stuff here that I'm talking about is actually in that article that Todd and I put together. But one of the things that we wanted to do was to actually look and see and try to figure out what are people really doing on a handheld device with regard to education. So one of the best places to really look for something like that is if you troll around inside the Apple iTunes store and you start categorizing the popularity of apps based on gross sales, for example, top free, and that kind of thing. You can start to piece together, I think, a picture of what people are actually doing on this device. And there was actually some really interesting information here. I mean, one of the things that was really telling was that these astronomy and star apps that cost money are extremely popular. They're all, there's like 2 or 3 of them in the top 10. And then what you saw were things that were very clearly directed at professionals. So CPA obviously is for accountants. This BarMax, now that's an interesting one. This is an app that basically is going to try to help you pass the bar exam. You know what the price is? $999. Isn't that amazing? And it is in the top grossing. So in the top free, of course, again, NASA, so the star people really seem to know what they're doing when it comes to these devices. And then lots and lots of elementary education apps, really what look like K through 5, K through 6 kinds of apps for, learning math, drawing, words, that kind of thing. Pretty simplistic. But lots and lots of them in the top free apps on the Apple iTunes Store. Next. So there's a couple of things that I really took away from it, and there was first of all, you look at what people are really willing to spend, and you see what the price, for example, is of the BarMax app and the CPA app, which is not cheap either. And you realize that people are willing to spend money to learn. They're willing to spend real money to actually learn on these devices. And to piggyback on something that Supra said, I do believe the iPad is a mobile device. I do believe that it is changing, really the face of learning in ways that we have really yet to completely comprehend. So I think that also when I looked at these apps, there was a ton of stuff just really targeting low-level learners, which tells me that there's still a lot of opportunity in the higher ed market, and I think that we see that ourselves within Pearson. We're, I think, just in the last 6 months starting to roll out more apps targeting at the higher ed market, and I think we'll see a lot more of that in the coming 18 months to 24 months. As I mentioned before, the price is clearly not a deterrent. If you have something that people want, if you have something that people will obviously find value in, they will pay for it. It's probably hard for a lot of us to fathom paying almost $1,000 for an app that runs on your iPhone or your iTouch. But clearly, for people who want and need to pass that exam, it's worth it. So in our opinion, really, when you look at the big picture in the long term, we actually believe that mobile learning will be bigger than what we think of today as e-learning, which tends to be oriented towards the desktop. And I don't know how long it is. I'm not necessarily that great at predicting the future, but we actually do believe that it will be bigger.
Bill, thank you very much. Bill Zobrist, everyone. I think we have done a good job covering the gamut from what is it like to roll out a mobile learning platform in a university, and obviously Carla, representative of National University, explained her perspective. We also talked about the technology and the pedagogy and how we're able to migrate from a traditional e-learning platform to a mobile e-learning platform, and what are the things that we want to also think about. It's not just moving it as is from one to the other and making it available through a browser, but really is redefining the way we do learning on the go. And Supra did a good job talking about the way we could basically migrate that content from one to the other. And Bill talked about the economics behind the mobile computing, mobile learning. One of the things that occurred to me while I was listening to all our esteemed panelists is that when we talk about mobile learning or mobile e-learning, obviously we've talked about higher education, post-secondary in today's session. It's happening in other aspects of the educational spectrum, including K-12. I'm personally involved with some project in K-12, so if any of our members of the audience are interested in case studies on mobile learning in K-12 education and how both the economics of it but also the integration of all these applications work on a mobile device, I'll be happy to address that, either if you want to ask questions. And don't forget to start putting together the questions in your chat sessions. I will address them to our panelists. Or you can send me an email at robert@vittone.com. So with that, I would like to thank our panelists and start asking some questions. So first of all, I have a question from one of our members, Ann Jenkins, who asks, do you have a list of the best mobile devices for students? Obviously, that's a generic question, and I want to just add to that, if you don't mind, and I will address that to Bill. And Bill, say if not only if you have a list of what do you think are the top platforms for mobility, but if you want to basically share with us any specific statistics on mobile adoptions that speak to the rate of adoption of mobile technology and highlight which platforms are ahead of which.
Well, today it's pretty much about, when it comes to mobile devices, you really have to think in terms of the handheld device, which is essentially the footprint of an iPhone or an Evo, for example, from Sprint, or a tablet, which the iPad being the most popular today. In terms of the handheld device, which is again essentially the phone size, it comes down to then the question of Apple or everybody else, which is today mostly Android. So there are great handheld devices other than the iPhone available from Sprint, Verizon, the Droid, so on and so forth. They're real easy to find. I would just do a Google search or a search of some type on mobile devices. And then if you look at the apps, that's the other question, is which apps are available for both. Right now there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of apps available for the iPhone, and Android, while there aren't the same number, there are also hundreds of thousands. And so the gap between the two is closing fairly rapidly. But I would say in general, at this point you probably can't really go too wrong either way. As far as a tablet goes, I would say today there's no question the iPad is still the singularly best tablet device on the market, better than the Samsung Tab. But in the next few months, we are supposed to see a flurry of tablets from some fairly big manufacturers, Toshiba, BlackBerry, Motorola and so forth. They're all getting good reviews early on, but proof is in the pudding. We haven't seen these devices yet. So today, I would say the iPad. Here's another tidbit which people probably don't know. We pieced together some research from surveys in terms of people being asked, whether or not they had what kind of devices and so forth from different sources. And it's our estimation, not any research that was done, but it's our estimation that there are over 1 million iPads on campus today. And that's just based on the fact that Apple's has already said that they've sold over 7 million. And then, as I said, we pieced together surveys of different types that were done in the student population. And I believe today that there are over 1 million of these devices on campus today.
Wow, that's amazing volume, and we're going to start seeing tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, pretty soon. So thanks for that, Bill. I have another 2 questions that I'm going to lump together and address them to Supra, and they're coming from the audience. Carolyn Bishop from Fullerton and Lauren Aldrin from Cal State University. I will combine their questions. So Lauren asks, what development tools or frameworks are available to make developing for multiple mobile platforms practical and feasible? That's what she asked. But add on top of that Carolyn's question, and it is very specific to the iPad, saying that using the iPad requires the Flash Player program for many of the educational sites and tools we use in our program. How can we work around the Flash Player since iPads do not have access to the Flash Player? So keep those 2 questions in perspective, Supra, when you talk a little bit about the development tools and making it cross-platform.
So and I'm going to have to kind of break them up, if you will, Robert. I'll address the tools, the DevTools framework question first. And if you will, again, I mean, not to be a little self-serving, but when we did Mobile 21, that was part of what we did, which is the ability to create content one time for these small form factor mobile devices, and be able to port it irrespective of what platform or what device the student carried, whether it was going to be the iPhone, iPod, whether it was going to be Android, whether it's going to be BlackBerry, all of these devices. Now, that is, I don't know if that's a framework or tool, because at the end of the day, this was developed as a platform that's ready to use, that anybody can create the content, and our authoring environment allows you to do that. Now, understand that this has to be for new content. If you have existing content, it still has to be ported in and reformatted so it can serve all of these devices. Now, as far as the iPad is concerned, it's the same issue, because if you guys notice, we've already solved the problem by being able to port content into our authoring environment, which ports into all of these devices simultaneously without having to worry about what device it is. Now, when it comes to slate computing, we are taking the same tact with slate computers, understanding that when you actually build content in, let me take the Mobile 21 example itself. When you build content for your slate computing devices, that we've built it as a framework. And what we mean by the framework is we have the app that's going to deliver into an iPad, but it's also going to deliver into any of the upcoming slate computing platforms, like the like the Android platform, if you will, and also the BlackBerry's got Playbook or whatever. So we're designing it so that it works on all of them from a developer standpoint. Now, what do you do with existing content? That is a challenge. I mean, if you're talking about browser delivery existing content, there is not much you can do. I really don't know what an elegant solution is. There are some piecemeal solutions, where I believe people are coming up with browsers which you can route content through, which actually will make a transformation then presented within a HTML5 framework for somebody accessing it through the iPad. Is that going to be a well-done, scalable solution? I don't believe it's going to work for interactions. It may work for just media and portability, but I don't believe it's going to work for interactions. So it's a lot more of a critical challenge. The problem is easier to solve for new content. It's probably something that you'll have to bear a burden on for existing content, if you will. And that's my 2 cents with regard to that. But again, like they say, tomorrow is a new day, so we'll all have to kind of morph and adapt.
Thank you very much, Supra. That was good, comprehensive answer. And obviously, the platforms are out there. You know, the Apple, the Android, the Microsoft, the BlackBerry. So there's 3 or 4, major platforms, and it would be wise to publish content across all, because you don't know who's going to be bringing which device onto the campus. So you want to play it safe. I also want to just highlight one thing before another question that I have here that will be addressed to Bill, and that is, there is a difference between consumer-centric apps or applets that are out there on these marketplaces versus an organizational-centric tool like a learning management system that an organization would deploy across all the students and teachers and, and potentially other stakeholders in that organization. So the way you write mobile apps, you've got to think through whether it's going to be consumer-centric, where you're going to be selling it for that 99 cents per download type of model, or you want to go license it on a site-wide basis to a university or a school district or somebody like that as an institution, and make the player or the access client for that available only to the members of that organization, yet the funding is really coming in from the institution that's licensing the tool or the content. So I just want to make sure that is the case. I have a quick question for Bill and another one for Carla. So Bill, the question that came in from Pierce regarding Pearson content, and it's let me read it. We adopt several Pearson textbooks. What will be the copyright implications for converting material for mobile viewing? And then if you could please allow enough time for another question for Carla, I would appreciate it, Bill.
Sure, no problem. It's a great question, and rights and permissions of intellectual property has probably been one of the most important questions to respond to in the last 10 years, and little did we know how critical it was to really get our house in order with that regard. We've essentially began a number of years ago an effort to more or less secure rights for essentially complete and total distribution of digital content. So distribution in the mobile space will, as far as we're concerned, be no different with regard to rights than it would be, over the web or some other medium. As long as we are doing our homework and making sure that we're getting the complete digital rights that we need in order to package and resell our content, will be totally fine, in which I believe we're in good shape.
Great. Thank you very much, Bill. I appreciate that answer. And Carla, I have another question for you, and it's regarding how can developers, let's say you're a content developer or a technology platform, what's the best way for them to work with academics and academic institutions in a partnership model? If you could just give us some examples of partnerships.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, and certainly in these uncertain economic times, there are a lot of institutions that are looking at budget cuts. Again, looking for those partnerships, and I would think that your members are going to organizations and meetings such as EDUCAUSE, some of those larger groups. The New Media Consortium is another large group that includes members from academic and professional, academic institutions, professionals who are developing the apps, who are developing the technology. I think that right now, for me, my organization, the International Digital Media and Arts Association, is very much interested in this, and we have members who are, seriously interested in finding change in the coursework that we're doing, and we're also working with the students who are going to be the next generation of the developers. And so I think that, if you can find a way to partner, I know that, we've worked with partners to apply for grants. I've worked with partners who have given us some trial versions of their work to try to get in there and catch on and get the support from above. So I think you want to look for those organizations. You want to look in your backyard and see, what institution is near you. And also I think in terms of bridging education from K-12 through community college through higher ed. As well as I've been working with a lot of, certainly in the entertainment and media technology industry, a lot of training that's been going on site, whether it be something like video editing or game development, where a lot of the companies that have been providing on-site training and consulting are looking to move their training online and to mobile. So I think that that's a kind of broad way of saying, look all around you, find those organizations, find those partners, and do these pilot projects like the one we're doing with Mobile 21.
Thank you very, very much, Carla. I just want to, end with some closing remarks. I think our panel did a great job talking about the ability to move mobile learning onto a mobile device. E-learning onto a mobile device. I would like to challenge the audience and also our panelists for future creative ideas. For example, gaming and simulations are obviously are hitting us now in the consumer side, and things like I'm sure some of you have been using Mafia Wars and social networks and other fun games out there, and how we could leverage that technology in education, number one, and number two, implement it on mobile devices so that anytime, anywhere, we're always connected with these mobile devices and are able to engage and collaborate for learning and make learning fun and not necessarily follow the same old style of here's the PowerPoint slides and here's the audio that goes with it and here's some Q&A at the end of the session, which is typical. But obviously the new generation, starting to lose interest in that format, and we want to kind of inspire them for learning and motivate them and change the whole way, the whole paradigm of teaching and learning. So I think we're onto something here with mobility. I know we all are changing our habits, and so we're just started to think about how can we move to that new exciting platform. I want to thank all our panelists who did a great job, Carla Berry, Supra Manohar, and Bill Zobrist. Thank you very much for your participation today. On behalf of SIIA, I also want to thank all of our audience who attended the session today, and we had quite a very high level of participation today, I have to add, and I hope you all have gotten something out of this. Just one final note, and that is we will be sending out a copy of the slides for those who attended and have given us their email address, so we are able to contact you back with the follow-up with the slide deck. So again, thank you very much, everyone, and we hope to see you in our next webinar.
And thank you, Robert, for moderating. You did an excellent job. And just a few closing announcements for the group, which is that you'll receive a webcast survey. So if you take a few minutes to finish that, we'll also send, in addition to the PowerPoint slides, to anyone who's interested, the link to this archive webcast so you can share it with any colleagues who weren't able to join. And of course, if you are an SIIA member, please get more involved and enjoy a working group or committee either on the K-12 or a post-secondary aspect. And if you're not an SIIA member, do consider joining. And with that, we conclude our presentation for today. Thank you all for joining us.
Ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude the conference call for today. We thank you for your participation and ask that you please disconnect your lines.